Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Chat with Chamindra. And today I have another very special guest, Chamara Peiris. It's been a long time coming. I've been requesting Chamara to join asked him to join this program a few weeks back as well. But somehow he was good enough to at least, tell me. He promised me that we will do this, and finally he gave me a time, and here we are doing the session. Thank you, Chamra, for
No worries.
accepting
No
my
worries.
request. So, Chamra, before we start, why don't you introduce yourself? I will not. I think it's better you give yourself an introduction, but I will tell you a bit brief to our audience. Chamra, I see him as a innovator, an entrepreneur, and someone who has dared to take the moves and dared to test the the current norms and try to change. Right? He's a he's the CEO of League. It's Play League. You can call it Play League or League. It's a gaming platform, online gaming platform, first of its kind in Sri Lanka, and he's been working on it, and he's been doing a lot of things related to that. We will talk about that later, and of course, if you have been following him in Twitter the last few months, you must have seen him doing that 100 days of AI challenge, and he actually followed it each day correctly, and he gave the updates one every day at a time. I, of course, also started it and I couldn't follow all the days. But Chamara somehow he did it each day well and he gave the updates. And I think he's the only person who did it correctly and he achieved that feat as well, gaining knowledge as well. So, a very, very innovative and very interesting person who dared to dream and have achieved many things as well. So, Chamara, without more further ado, why don't you give yourself an introduction as well, Chamara? Yeah.
I think, Chamindra, thank you so much for inviting me. And I think I was giving the excuse that why I actually delaying this as well, because there are things that I want to achieve before I talk to you know in public like this.
Yeah.
I would call this in public, right? So I have
Yeah.
to achieve something to talk in public. So that's why I was like saying that let's do later. And there are a few other people now gonna trigger and say that now let's do your one against, because there are a few other people who asked me to do this as well. So
I am honored you chose me as the first person to talk to. That's a
no
great
worries, no worries.
privilege.
And the other thing I had to tell you that we didn't plan to wear the same color,
That's a,
right?
it's
So
awesome. Correct, correct.
yes. So I'm trying to build a digital games platform in Sri Lanka. Um, so sometimes it looks like I'm too early for the market as well. It's a blue ocean market. There's no proper platform. There are vast platforms, but not the way that we want to do it, because the scale that we are looking at. And, so coming from the tech background and being in the startup ecosystem for about last 10 years in different positions, from the founder to the CTO to director of marketing and all, everything, wearing like many hats in different startups. So that's the exposure that I have, and that might be the reason why I don't want to work in a corporate as well. So would love to take risks, and that will pay off one day when you do that. And also it's a self satisfaction when you try to do something new instead of the the everyday, the cookie cutter, the garment factory kind of a work that you do, right? So yeah, so with League, so we are trying to do something new to Sri Lanka, but not some I would say matured markets. And also the opportunity what we have seen is that the countries like us, especially what we call the emerging markets, have this kind of opportunities. Um, the simple example, we have 22 million population in Sri Lanka and 4.2 million monthly active gamers in the country. And I think the recent TRC report mentioned that we have close to 20 million devices,
Valuations.
or more than that, which connected to internet, right? So we have a huge potential. We have a good digital population when you compare to the total population. So that's what we are trying to do. But Sri Lanka is not the only market that we want to with as well. So we want to take it to other countries as well. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do. So doing my seed round now as well. So we want to take it to the next level because we are still in the beta. So now it's time for us to get out of beta. So that's what I'm fully focusing on these days. So even today, so I'm actually came home after many meetings, and tomorrow also the same. So meeting a lot of people, talking to a lot of people, not only in Sri Lanka. Even after this meeting, I have another couple of calls with a couple of people from Nigeria because we are looking at Nigeria as one of the markets that we want to launch as well. So exploring so much of opportunities. The globally there's a investment winter, so it's really hard to find investors for early stage startups. So looking at partnerships from every part of the world. So there are so much of opportunities. So exploring everything.
Great, great, Chamara. That's really great to hear. And you're challenging the status quo, right? And you're trying to push your limits and try to gain something. That's how I feel as an entrepreneur. That's how you have to do it, right? You have to think out of the box. You have to challenge the status quo, and you are playing your own game, right? You are trying to uh, push your limits and gain the trust of your investors and gaining the people who likes to invest in. So that's leads to my next question. So you talked about challenges, the investing part. So for new entrepreneurs, anyone who likes to start something on their own, right? Some people have faced many problems taking that first step, right? And you leaving your corporate job and doing something your own will always take a huge thing, especially if you are part of a family and you're the sole breadwinner. These kind of things, a lot of things comes to their mind. And
Yeah.
some people and like chasing your own dream and managing family commitments, so those things. So what can sort of advice you can give, and how did you overcome that situation, and before you
Uh,
moved into
in
this?
my case, I first started my services company back in 2008, I think. So I left the company I was working overnight and started the services company very next day. So that's how it worked out, right? Uh, so uh, first of all, if anyone wants to be an entrepreneur, because there's a difference between businessman and entrepreneur, right? So if you want to be an entrepreneur, you should be able to take loads of risks. You should be able to afford for yourself to go on without any income, sometimes years, right? So you will figure out what sort of things that you have to do to survive yourself, right? So uh, so those are the two main things that you should have to become an entrepreneur. But that won't make you an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is someone who's coming up with an idea and build something from the scratch, right? So buying a product from someone else and selling it to another person, it's a businessman for me, right? Connecting taxi drivers to riders by building a platform, that's what entrepreneurship for me, right? So you should find what sort of a problem that you're going to solve to become an entrepreneur. So that will be your company, that will be your product, that will be your end of the day what we call the baby. You have to figure those things out before you get into this thing. So I had the comfort that going through I had the comfort to go through all the ups and downs since I've been, in this entrepreneurship journey and, failing to successes and everything, right? But not everyone can have that comfort as well. So I would say that I was lucky in that way, but the learns that I have learned, I don't think lots of the entrepreneurs have gone through either, right? So we don't have that the family money that comes and invests in our ideas, right? So we have to find ourselves to do those things. When you need funding, you have to reach out to investors, and you should have a good network that you will support you as well. So I think over the time, so I have built that for myself. So that's what where we are right now, testing another new product. uh, Couple of investors already trusted on me, and they have put some money. Yeah, so you have to have all those things to become an entrepreneur. and then your journey starts. It's not an easy journey, right? Lot of sleepless nights. You might have to sometimes compromise your other social gatherings to work on things that you will love to do, right? So I mean, sometimes you have to spend about 16, 17 hours per day on the things that you are working on, right? And the stress that you are getting because of the other dependencies, right? So you have to manage everything. It's a great load of work that you have to do and you have to go through. So it's not easy. It's not. I know that some people does this as a lifestyle, but you can have entrepreneurship as a lifestyle if you have enough money coming from somewhere else for you to survive, right? So if you are working with investors, if you are working with a scalable product, you won't be able to have a entrepreneurship as a lifestyle. So it's going to be your the day to day life. It's going to be end of the day. That's what you're going to do to prove yourself or build something that can become um the products that people, the users are happy with.
Believe me, when I say this, believe me, you don't look very stressed out considering to people who are working on a corporate job. You look very, cool and calm. Because, what I feel is when you are doing your own thing, you have that extra motivation and love for what you are doing, no? Uh, Other than working
Yes, yes, and
to
also
another boss. Yeah, yeah,
correct. And I have to add something for that as well. And you have to make sure that you have the right people around you to support that as well. So if you have the wrong people around you, so I mean, you have. I mean, let's say you have the right people surrounding you, so you can go that extra mile, right? Let's say in one day, but if you have the wrong people, it might take weeks or months or years. So, uh, so that's it's a journey. So my advice is, if anyone wants to get into that, read. There are lots of books that they can. There are a lot of resources that can find online, or there are books that can read. Uh, go through that, because uh, even if you follow someone like if you follow Elon Musk, right? The things that he has gone through, right? The culture, the market, the environment, and the geography that he's in are totally different than us, right? So we have to find our own thing to do that. So it's good to learn from other people, but when you apply, you have to make sure that it relates to you as
correct. Correct. So, again, when you talked about people who are around you, right? So, who are the role models you had? You mentioned about Elon Musk as well. Surely there must be some people from Sri Lanka as well. We have now what we have seen is Chamindra, who has given a lot of, he's become a, people call him the local Sri Lankan Elon Musk, and those kind Richard Branson actually. Sri Lankan Richard Branson and those, because he has become very innovator and someone who give a lot of support to people who are starting as entrepreneurs as
which
well.
one you are referring, Chamindra?
Pardon, Chaman?
Which one you are referring to? I missed the
Chalind.
Chalinder.
Yeah, yeah. People are calling him like that. But I mean, these kind
Okay.
of, local, once people are taking, but I've seen some people who are like him, who are, helping out people, right?
Exactly.
From, yeah. So what sort of support you are getting from local people, I'm telling,
Right.
because foreign
So
people, they will always come for the money, and they will basically they will always come for the money. They want to invest and see the results. But from a local point of view, I feel the ones who close to you might give you more advice, guide you through this kind of a process.
hmm.
What's your take on that?
So talking about Chalinder, my good old friend. So we had a couple of calls today as well,
Okay,
somewhat.
great.
So I might probably meet him, I think, tomorrow as well. So Chalinda, I don't know who's comparing him with Elon Musk. So Chalinda is actually helping startups. So from the spiralation at ICTA, and then at Cloud Island, and then Lankan Angel Network. Now he's with N Ventures. Um, so he's the one who's managing N Ventures fund in Singapore. Personally, I have received so much of help from Chamindra during his Lankan Angel Network. So LEEG was part of Lankan Angel Network cohort 4 as well. And we became one of the finalists as well, cohort 4 at Lankan Angel Network, with MinPay and Magic Bit. And then I have to mention Sachindra from ICT as well. So when he was running Spirulation, and then Fayas as well. Fayas did some help for me as well. Um, so in Sri Lanka, yes, there are few institutions that can help startups, but in my personal opinion, still we don't have a proper startup ecosystem in Sri Lanka. So some time ago, Slascom had this entrepreneurship forum. So that's where me, Chalinda, and there are a few other guys, even Aloka. So we were part of it. So we were having month sessions where we asked people to come and pitch, right? But after I think 1 or 2 years, so it gradually died. And then Sri Lanka had Sri Lanka's first hackathon in 2010 or 11, if I'm not mistaken. So so I was in the winning team of that hackathon. So I went in with an idea, but I didn't get votes to implement that idea at the hackathon. So Indy Samaраjiva. So Indy came with a concept called Yamu, right? So it was a concept. It was new for us as well, right? He pitched it, right? Since I knew him and some numbers that he was talking about, so I was so interested. So I said, so I'm going to go with him. And then there was another guy called Chanaka. He also said, so I also go with Indy. So in this team had only Indy, myself, and Chanaka only. We had 3 teams, right? So Yamu was actually taxi hailing company at that time. Indy actually pitched. At that time, there were no Uber in Sri Lanka. There were no Pick Me in Sri Lanka. So we became the first place,
Yeah,
right?
great. I think
So,
those days Yamu was a very hit. I was also use of
so
that. It became a, I
he
think.
didn't had any idea to start Yamu, right? So
Okay.
he pitched this taxi hailing company,
Ah,
right? So the hackathon happened at Oran City, the lunch area, right? So I can remember those days. The judge was like there were Hirash was a judge, Chandrika was a judge, Jeevan was a judge. There were a few other people I can remember as well. So then I think there were a couple of investors wanted to invest on Yamu with Indy, and then that time I was running another software services company as well, and Indy asked me, "Machang, would you like to join?" I said, I don't think it's the right time for me. And then I think he also decided that not to take money and build the tax sailing app at that time, right? And then eventually, I think Indy built Yamu as a directory for food and travel. So that's the story of Yamu. I don't think whether Indy has mentioned this anywhere else as well. Still, I have photos that Indy is pitching Yamu at Orion City in 2010. I think it's 2010 or 2011. So from there, then there was a I was not part of the relation program, but I know that some startups like I think Loops initially I think they were part of Spirulation, and I've heard there was I have visited at some point. There was a incubator called I can't remember the name. It was at the Merchant Tower. That's where the Sea Messenger, Veses, and all those companies were incubated. Uh, I can't remember the incubator name. That was, I think, before 2000. Or not before 2000, I think between 2005 to 2000. So there was an incubator there. So those are the things that we had. And then after that, we had Startup Week in Sri Lanka. So I'm one of the um organizers of the first Startup Weekend happened in Jaffna. And then after that, I became one of the mentors as well. So Startup Weekend, I think there were 3 or 4 Startup Weekends happened, but after that, that also got stopped. And then we had Venture Engine. Now Venture Engine is I think Takas came from Venture Engine, Precurious came from Venture Engine. There were a few other startups came from Venture Engine. So, but right now we don't have any accelerators or incubators, some things like that. But there are some corporate investment arms and in angel investors, very few who comes and invest on startups. Because in Sri Lanka, when you talk about investments, the mass market, what you say, what we call the village people will go when you want to invest, it's like invest in a pyramid scheme, right? And for other people, investing is like, buying a car and selling it to a higher price, or buying the land and selling it to a higher price, or buying a real estate and renting it out. Those are the investment, and investing in stock market. But in Sri Lanka, the knowledge on investing in early stage startups and get an exit in 3 to 5 years, that culture is still not there. So that means we are not a entrepreneurship driven culture, right? So those are the things, when you compare the startup ecosystem, even if you compare it with India, like, it's so huge. India gets about $5 to $8 billion every year to invest in startups from outside. So that's why, I mean, if you look at ICC, the T20 World Cup, even right now, you see a lot of mobile apps advertising on Indian TV, not the regular, the telcos to the insurance to banks and all, right? So that's the money that they are getting into, leverage the markets. So in Sri Lanka, yes, there are people like Chamindra. There are incubators, accelerators, and home offices for corporates and individuals. Angels are there, but we need more. But for that, so we should have good ideas to invest as well. So if you do, I mean, if you come up with an idea that someone else is already doing, investors won't give you money, right? And if you're coming up with a brand new idea where you haven't seen in the market, or you haven't seen it in the region either, then you won't get money at all either, right? So because the investors should be able to understand that as well. So you have to have proper understanding of what you're going to do and which market that you're going to do it. So that's what I have seen for the last 2 to 3 years in trying to build LEEG in Sri Lanka.
Can I ask you a question? This could be a bit of a, something of a tough, by tough one means something that will get resolved in the long term. Now, with the economic downturn our country had, are the investors still ready to invest? Aren't they very skeptical to invest? Even in
So
startups. That was a question I wanted to ask you. If they are investing, what sort of guarantee the ones who are, the business people can give them that they will
So
get a return?
there are investors already even from India. So they invest in real estates, right? And there are acquisitions happen like because of the WSO the acquisition. Now there's a huge demand even in locally to purchase software companies, acquire software companies, right? Who does the work for USA mainly, right? So there's a huge surge. I'm also getting requests like introduce us software companies. So there are investors who want to purchase majority shares,
Okay.
right? So uh, so there are things like that. But when it comes to early stage startups, it's very very tough. So I've been doing the ideation round. It took so long, and then I stopped it because no point of dragging it, and now doing a fresh seed round to do some more different things. Uh, but when it comes to early stage startup, it's really tough. And there's another reason why Sri Lankans just would, I mean, not investing in early stage startups as well. So there were some bad stories as well. So some angel investors got dropped through startups. So they are so because of that. So some people are not going to invest anymore either. So I personally know that for a fact. Um, so right now it's really tough. And when I talk to Indians, they ask like, so you guys are coming out of crisis. So why don't you expats are investing? And then when I ask from expats, so they basically they're waiting for an election. It seems. So so those are the things. But at some point, Sri Lanka will have these kind of opportunities. But right now, it's really tough to raise money in Sri Lanka, even in the world. So it's a what we call investment winter globally. It's really tough to raise money. And even in USA, there are some startups really have closed down. So they have because they have gone out of runway. you have to be prepared for those things as well, because all the startups not going to be successful. You know, it's so people say that it's only 1% of startups will get succeeded, right? When you are not succeeding, so when you don't have money to run your startup, so you have to fire people, so you have to make sure you can run your company for the next 6 to 12 months with the limited money that you have. So that means you have to stretch down your employees to other infrastructure and everything. So me and another one of my friends, so when we were part of a startup, so we both had to, this is somewhere around 2019 or 2018, so we both had to send over 40 people overnight because we didn't get the funding. So talking to each person and saying that you don't have your job next day, it's very tough.
Right.
But that's part of the startup ecosystem.
Tough situations makes you take tough decisions, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes.
Uh, so I wanted to ask you, since you're a very busy man and I'm taking a lot of time, I'll just ask two questions and I try to close off the our session. First one, I want to ask, what sort of advice you can give to anyone who wants to invest in software or startups? Who wants now? People have ideas, right? We see a lot of kids in Sri Lanka. There are a lot of people, kids. They see a future in IT, and since they like to do new things and do new startups, what sort of advice you like to give them on starting this one and
Yep.
starting their own as entrepreneur?
So my first advice: don't invest in IT. Just, I mean, since you have seen the technology and IT is booming, don't go and invest in IT or technology startups, because technology can change at any time, right? So what they should do is they should solve a problem first. So the way that they are solving the problem is the technology, right? So that's the first thing that investors should look at it, right? And then they have to do a lot of due diligence on the founder and the co-founders, right? So I mean, you can't just go. I know people go and just give money, like, okay, you want this much, so take this and do it. But you have to make sure that there's a proper plan to spend this money, where this money has going to be spent, right? What are the things that the founder is offering you to monitor the progress, right? So those are the things that the investor should look at it. And also investor's intention on investing on this particular startup, right? In 3 years, what do you want to do with this money that you have invested, right? Whether you want an exit in 3 to 5 years, or whether you want to put more money in the next 3 to 5 years. So those are the things. I know that in Sri Lanka, that education is still not there. So I think Chamindra is planning something for few selected people. So they will train some of the individuals who are potential to become angel investors in Sri Lanka, because that's again the learning, right? Because as a founder, I'm not taking money from each and every person. I have said no to many people. Even I have said no to the person who wanted to put the biggest chunk by exiting my current investors as well. But I said no, because with my due diligence, I figured out that he's not going to be a suitable person, because uh, we are getting money from the investors to manage in the company. But if you get the wrong investors, I have to manage the investor instead of the company,
Company.
right? So the investor should be the right person, and also the the founder should select the right person, investor, to get the money as well. So there are loads of resources available online that can read. Even there's a thing called Found Institute. So Found Institute has a separate course for investors as well. So, and the other thing, Found Institute has a cohort for South Asia. So I'm actually one of the mentors of the South Asian cohort. So startups can join, and then they will get mentoring for 6 months. It's a comprehensive course, but it's not free. And I've been doing the mentoring for about last, I think, 3 to 4 years. So in 2022, I became the best supportive mentor in Southeast Asia as well as
Great.
Found Institute Startup Awards. So
Great.
it's good to engage with people. That will help you to open your mindset and it will help you to listen to other people what they're trying to do. That will actually expand your the mindset and the thinking capacity.
Great. Superb, Chamra. I mean, you have already become a role model to others. I mean, anyone who's watching this, I mean, they will
I
definitely.
don't advise anyone to become role model. I mean, don't follow role models. You have to be yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's the thing, no? Sometimes we tend to, fall into that path as well and try to adopt the things they are trying to use, and if it doesn't work, sometimes you blame that person also. That
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
a
I mean,
situation can also
it's
happen.
obvious that you have to learn from
Yeah,
other people. But my
yeah,
advice is learn from other people's failures and mistakes, because the other people's success might be coincidence, right? So learn from the failure. So
yeah.
when they fail in by doing this, what they have done to overcome that, that's what you have to learn.
Great, great. So I will just close with, because this is inevitable question, Chamra. I wanted to ask, what sort of play AI is doing to this kind of startup? Uh, any impact on AI to any companies? Any entrepreneurs they are starting AI now. If what sort of impact is there? Have you
So
experienced that? Yeah,
So I mean, AI is not a new thing, right? AI was
yeah.
there for a few years, right?
From
But because of what
Chat
OpenAI did,
GPT and everything came in, it became.
yes, it,
Oh,
it
yeah,
it became a buzzword, right?
yeah,
So during that particular, I mean, during that, I think first 1 to 2 years of OpenAI, right? So there was a huge boom of investors are looking at AI startups and investing. Right now, everything comes with AI. Even I have seen like some startups come with like even their company names comes with AI word, right? So AI, I mean AI is just a technology, but you need a lot of other things to AI to work with, right? You can't just build a product using AI. So you have to use either machine learning or something like that to work with that. To do that, you need a lot of data as well, right? So you have to understand, like it's not just one-off thing, right? So that's why the OpenAI is a business model where you can connect the API with a lot of data coming already fed to the system, right? So you can build a lot of you can do a lot of innovations. You can do a lot of integrations that will help. I mean I've recently I did some judging for some institute, and I have seen like a lot of products that uh, the founders are trying to integrate AI. I think that's how it is, right? So if you really look at the recent Canva, the annual conference, or I think that's the annual conference. So, like how they have integrated AI, right? So there are loads of things that we can do to get the help of AI, but AI won't get affected, in my personal opinion, to people's lives, right? In a way that how we're going to use it, because AI should be used by the human, AI should be built by the human. So human will be existed, but when we are building something, so we have to build for the AI and the human both. So I think it's a great tool that we have to utilize to help us. So as an example, I think recently I have seen a tweet. I'm not sure who has done it. It was saying, so I'm expecting AI to do my dishes and laundry, so then I can focus on my arts and crafts
Yes,
or
yes.
something.
Yeah, I saw that tweet as well. Yeah, that was actually it got me thinking as well. This can't take away the human aspect, the human
Yeah, it
thinking, and
can't, it
yeah,
can't,
that's the thing.
because
That's the
humans are the one feeding data, and humans are the one
the
building this
ones who are
AI.
making it in the first place. That's the thing. Great, great. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Amra. And before we end, anything you like to say and give one last advice to anyone who like to
Uh,
start up and
my
yeah,
advice to all Sri
yeah,
Lankans is that uh, so when we were kids, so whenever someone asks us like whom you want to be when you are big, we were told to say that engineers, doctors, lawyers, and things, right? But the world has changed. Now we need people who can create jobs, not looking for jobs in Sri Lanka. So when we have people who can create more jobs, so that means we will have a lot of innovations. Our people will have a lot of ideas, So eventually, our it will actually help our economy. So we will have more investors investing in your ideas.
Thank you so much, Al. That is very nice advice. Thank you so much. And
No,
so much for taking time from your busy schedule and connecting with
oh,
chat with Chamindra.
that's totally fine.
Yeah, we hope to connect with you again in the future. Once,
Sure, definitely.
yeah, in the future we will connect and discuss more. And I wish you all the very best and do keep in touch.
Wish you all the very best too, Chamindra, and thank you so much for doing this with me. Most probably this is the second one, this kind of a thing that I did. I did some time back with one of my friends, Dilanta, who's in Australia. So I'm not a person who talks like this as well, but thank you for this.
No worries, no worries. Thank you so much for taking your time off and
Please.
joining today. So I wish you all the very best and let's connect again soon. Then. Thank you so
Sure.
much.
Thank you so much, Chamindra, and thanks
Okay,
for talking to me. All right,
no
thank
worries.
you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye bye.